Joining us as I promised you, State Representative John Patterson. John, how you doing?
I'm doing great. The question is, how are you doing, vacation boy?
Oh boy, I had a great time. It was hard coming in this morning, believe me, after you're off 10 days, but it was neat. It was neat.
So I hear you forgot the code to get in.
Yeah.
You were having problems remembering your website.
Yeah. Lost it. Andy had to get it back for me.
That was a great vacation. Where'd you go?
It was a wonderful vacation. You know what? We didn't do a whole bunch. We just little day trips, and then we went on Friday. We went to the casino in Erie. And, Michelle won some money, almost $300. So I figured, hey, it was a pretty good day.
That's right. That's right.
You know, John, I wanted to talk to you about this. It came out, and I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but it kind of was bothersome to me. They came out with the top 10 worst cities in the state of Ohio, and Connie was on the list. And I thought, this is bad. You know?
I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Was this a website or?
It was, I don't know if I could, yeah, I got it right here. In some of these towns I am not familiar with. You might be, because you do a lot of traveling.
Who did this?
Roads? Nick Johnson Road Snacks. 262,000 views, which isn't good publicity for us. But we use science to determine which Buckeye cities are the real pits. And here they are. Number 1 is Youngstown, Portsmouth, Jackson, Wellston, Zanesville, Cambridge, Wilmington, Lima, Hillsborough, and Connie at number 10. And I mentioned to the audience here, I wonder if this guy has ever even been in Connie yet, you know?
Couldn't be.
You know, I just
realize what
bothered
a
me.
gem this place is.
Yeah, it's a gem. I think we might be a little biased, both of us.
Yes,
but,
of course.
But that's how we feel, you know.
What
and
was his criteria?
It's really, yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question. See if I can get this up here. Last time we talked about the state of Ohio was a happier time. We went all over the Buckeye State's charms. We talked about the grittiness of the folks in the bigger cities and the warm, friendly people in Ohio's smaller towns. But today we're going in the opposite direction, because like in any other state in America, there are bad places just like there are good places. And today we're going to address the worst of Ohio's cities and towns. Then he goes into that. Not a very good report.
But he doesn't tell you on what basis this report would.
Doesn't say how he did it.
We know.
Hi, you're on the air.
Well, we're back. We're back streaming again, huh?
We're back. Just started up on Friday, yeah.
Yeah, you took off and the streaming left and last Thursday, and I ain't had it since until this morning. Ain't that something?
It's been off for a while. Yeah, I'm glad we got it back, because I was getting tons of emails saying what happened, you know.
Yeah, well, I got a message from Great Wave the other day that said it'd be fixed by Monday morning.
And it is.
Yeah, just for me, huh?
Yeah, just for you.
Yeah. Now, I've been having fun with this, not the top 10, but the top 20. You know, there's Geneva at number 12 and Asheville at number 18. So that means there's 3 cities in this county that has gone to poop. And how do you feel about that, John? You're the only state rep that has 3 cities in the same county, huh?
Well, I was not aware of this.
Compared to, you know, you said that word science. You know, it's from science.
But he doesn't explain to us on this website how it was arrived at. I mean, you could stack the deck. I'd like to see the criteria that he used.
It's science. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
But it has to be replicated to be good science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know Geneva and Asheville were on that.
Yeah, on the top 20.
See, I didn't get the top 20. We just got the top 10.
Well, you need to read. There's a lot more to that than meets the eye there. Yeah, a whole lot more.
I will look at that.
I think when me and Pat talked last, we were talking about the governor he was talking about raising the cigarette tax $1. And then when the first rolled around, and I didn't even see it on this website, you know, with the taxes and everything that was going to go into effect on July 1st, it didn't say nothing about the 35 cents that came on July 1st for a pack of cigarettes.
That was because it was in the conference committee. The when the House presented its budget and the governor presented his and the Senate presented theirs, what they have in the final analysis, kind of like a blend of those ideas, and the compromise was a 35-cent increase, sales tax.
Yeah, and all this sales tax money is going to, do you know what? Do you know what it's going to?
It goes for the general revenue fund.
Well, what I read, it goes to shore up the pension fund of public employees. I mean, why don't these public employees take the money out of their own pocket?
They do. They do.
Well, they ain't taking enough. If they got to take 35 cents a pack from me, I mean...
Well, the other factor is that...
I know they're so worried about our health, you know.
Yeah. The governor also... I did get a lot of input from the American Cancer Society, wanting to, and other similar groups, wanting to raise it to $1 because in their scientific approach, increasing the tax helps people to quit. Now I've not known, I mean, when my dad was in his 80s and they raised the price, he wasn't going to buy anymore, so he walked down to the corner gas station and bought him 1 pack at a time, Pat. It didn't curtail his habit.
Well, I can't understand. They only raised it on a pack of cigarettes.
Right.
They didn't raise it on snuff. They didn't raise it on roll your own or nothing. Just a pack.
Yep. And the theory was that that would help to offset, in part, income tax cuts for individuals.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know what the governor said. I voted.
As far as I'm concerned, that governor is a Democrat, and you know he's a Democrat all the way. If he wants to raise taxes like that, you know, they had the lieutenant governor on Youngstown Radio, WKBN there last week or so.
Yes.
And Ron Verb let it rip to her. I mean, he ripped her one down, you know, because of the surplus. And how come the surplus wasn't being distributed to the cities to fix the roads and that? You know, maybe that's one reason why we're number 10 and 12 and 18.
It could be infrastructure. You're talking about the rainy day fund?
Yeah, the rainy day fund.
Yes, that was the
and the lieutenant governor said that we need that money in case of we get more Ebola. More of that Ebola, you know, scares and maybe a couple tornadoes here and there, you know. Are these people? Are you guys all that crazy down there, or what? Or just her? I mean, I can't figure it out. You know, why? It seems like the Democrat ought to be raising heck over all this money, and they're just going along with the governor. And then when the Democrats are governor, you know, then the Republicans all go along, and they all just go their merry, you know, nobody's fighting each other no more. You know, there's no argument. They're all kissy down there, you know. I don't know. Pat, I've been saving this up for a week now, and it's just been wearing at me.
How would you like to spend a day with me in Columbus?
Huh?
How would you like to come down and spend a day with me in Columbus?
I think it'd be one of the boringest days of my life. I think it'd be one of the boringest days. They'd probably haul me out in handcuffs.
I've had a number of groups come down.
If you were to buy a hamburger, I probably would, but you know.
You know what? For you, I'd buy you a hamburger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
I just can't. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't see how all this is happening, and everybody's trying to figure out why we're number 10, why we're number 12. You know what? Because you all wanted a covered bridge, you know, the longest covered bridge, so you let Lancherette vote for, you know, free trade, and we lose 300,000 jobs, but we get the longest covered bridge. Does that make sense? And they're all cheering for the covered bridge, while America's lose, you know, over 300,000 jobs. That don't make no sense, does it? I didn't think so.
Well, I'm just waiting for your next observation. You're on a roll. Come on, get it out. That's all right.
I know. I don't know. I just get so frustrated over what's happening, and nobody, you know, they think tourism is going to do it. Well, apparently tourism isn't doing it, is it? Look at Greece.
Tourism is a part of the overall mosaic that we have to develop.
You can't support this county with grapevines and covered bridges. They don't go together. They just don't. I mean, you got to have real paying jobs.
What's the answer, Dennis?
Huh?
What's the answer?
First thing we got to do is stop the heroin from coming across the border. That's the main thing right now. We got to get that under control. And the feds, I mean, they're letting tons and tons of that coming across the border right now. And they might stop a tractor trailer here and there. Oh, look what we found. While they're doing that, 10 other tractor trailers. And them guys down there, the cartels, they're not dealing with marijuana no more. It's nothing but heroin. That's where they're making their money at. And apparently nobody's trying to, the federal government, we got to stop that first before we do anything. And then we got to start kicking some of these people out that wanting all this free trade stuff. They're going to give us, what, in the last free trade that Obama wanted, what? There's money in there to retrain us. What, retrain us flipping hamburgers or what? I just don't get it. All right, I've had enough.
Okay.
Thanks,
So-
Dennis.
I'm going to go drink a cup of coffee.
All right, see you, buddy.
Oh, boy.
I love his passion.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
I'm glad I came to work.
That's right.
All right, here we got a little explanation here.
Okay.
Gunner sent us. How we crunched the numbers regarding this number 10 spot that we got. We threw a lot of criteria at this one in order to get the best, most complete results possible using FBI crime data, the government census, Bureau of Labor stats, and Sperling's best places. This is the criteria we used. Population density. The lower the worse. Highest unemployment rates, lowest home values, adjusted median income adjusted for the cost of living, education, low expenditures per student, and high student-teacher ratio, and high crime. Now, crime is not, we don't have high crime, I don't think, here. We do have a population situation that has gone down. We have unemployment, home values. I don't know. I don't understand this, to be honest with you. I guess they do have more information.
It's skewed, though.
Yeah,
and I
yes.
say that for this reason. If you're looking about an overall picture of what makes Conneaut so special in Ashtabula County, you've got to also factor in the quality of life, access to parks, public recreation programs, things like that. And there's no mention of that. If you just want to look at the glass being half full based on economics, sure, we've lost industry.
Yeah.
And as a result, we've lost population. As a result, home values are somewhat depressed. But if you turn that on its head, I had a conversation this weekend with a former student who's looking forward to coming back because they can work from their home, just as we were talking about, and housing prices are very affordable here as opposed to the coast, and their parents are here. What's not to like about that? So
Yeah.
there is opportunity. It's a matter of how you look at it.
Absolutely. Hi, you're on the air.
Morning, Pat.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
They based that on, you look at your housing stock in Connie, I mean, this was an old railroad community, and the problem is we have a lot of houses that are on the lower end, and plus we have a lot of houses that are vacated and so forth, and then they base that on the population of the town, and you got to look at Connie, that's one of the second largest city landmass in the state of Ohio.
That's right.
So now you take that into account, you see what I'm saying, and then they're going on average income, which is not that high. I mean, let's be realistic about it. But then they say we're at the mercy of Lake Erie for 6 months of the year. If you read that further.
Yes, I did see
And I
that.
don't quite get that because, yeah, we have the lake effect snow and so forth, but that's not 6 months of the year. That's only like a couple, 3 months that we can really get hit with it. And in fact, we enjoy it. You know, I mean, I'm sure it's tough sometimes getting around, you know, on the roads and so forth. But I mean, the snowmobilers love the snow and so forth. So to call us the worst 1 of the 10 worst cities in the state of Ohio, I think that's kind of unfair on their part. Because when the steel industry took a dump, that's when we got hit real hard because that hit the railroad. And like I say, all them town, up downtown is where the railroaders live. They all live close to their jobs, so they could walk to their jobs. All them houses were kind of, the city at a time had a problem with the way they zoned things. They should have granted more space in between houses and so forth, and they didn't. And all these houses are compacted in there, and their houses, so they get credited as a value. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so I think that's some of the things they're looking at, and I don't think that's fair on their part because of the situation we're in. I mean, we're trying to bring industry into this area, and it's hard. I mean, we're competing with a lot of big cities and other states and so forth and so on, trying to
In other countries.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfair for them to do that to us because we're a small city in northeastern Ohio. We're trying to compete with places like Columbus, Cincinnati,
Beijing.
Toledo.
Yeah.
They're all trying to bring those industries in to make their
That's
cities
right.
nice. And then here we are, little Conneaut, trying to offer them what we can, and sometimes it's not enough.
Hey, Tom, do you think those farmers in Central California would see Lake Erie as a 6-month problem?
Yeah, they'd be just loving that 6 months effect from the Lake Erie.
That's right. It's a matter of perspective.
John, you aren't telling me nothing new. I mean, I'm the advocate for Conneaut.
I know that.
I love my town, and I think it's a great place to live. But I'm just trying to explain what they're trying to look at, and they're looking at numbers, and they're saying, well, here's the numbers, and they're not looking at the whole effect. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I agree.
How about those people in North Carolina swimming on the beaches out there with the sharks?
Yeah.
Let's take a picture of Conneaut's beach and take a picture of say some beach in South Carolina and ask people if they could tell where they're at.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And we don't have to worry about sharks coming up and biting you on your toes.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that as to be mean to those people down there in North Carolina or South Carolina, but it's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you could cut us down for this, but today or Sunday I went down park down there and saw a plate down there from Colorado. I saw a plate down there from Alabama. So you tell me why we're so bad.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tom.
I mean, also our population is aging too.
Yes.
And the younger people are moving. Unfortunately, they're moving because there is no industry. That is one thing, John, and I cannot say enough. We need to work on the industry.
I know.
And I know you know that, and I'm not, that's like preaching to the choir, But that's the only thing we really need to get things rolling around here. I mean, tourism is coming on pretty good, and I think that's a pretty good thing to keep going because that's part of the equation.
That's right.
But it's not all the equation.
That's right.
And agricultural is part of that equation, and industry is part of that equation.
right.
And I don't know how we can do it. I mean, I'll jump right in there with you, John, and help you out wherever you all you got to do is call and say, we need to do this, and I'll come down and I'll help you. But we need to figure out how we can get industry into this area. And like I say, Jefferson, Geneva, Ashtabula, I just don't know how Conneaut got ranked number 10. I'm amazed by that number, but you can look it up and maybe we can go down there and thump on these people over
There you go.
Bring him up here. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, guys, you have a nice day.
You too. Bye-bye. Got this from a gentleman by the name of Dennis Turner. Doesn't live here anymore. He lives up towards Cleveland, but he said, I'm very sad. He still considers himself a city resident. I'm very sad we got number 10 as one of the 10 worst cities. This serves no purpose. What is the criteria that they base this on? Maybe we do want to be judged on it. Just comments and just something I needed to say. So Conneaut, take care of Conneaut is basically what he finished it up with. So still has his heart here in his hometown, and we appreciate your comments, Dennis. Said he's going to a Pioneer Steam and Gas Show in Sagertown, Pennsylvania this weekend, I guess, with his son and grandson. He said, I'm very excited because it's rare. We get to do something together. But he said he's looking forward to doing that. Are you aware of that? I'm not.
We have one here in Wayne Township, on
Yes.
322.
Yeah.
And that one's located just outside of Sacred Town at the intersection of 198 and 79. It's on top of
A lot
that.
of people like to go to those.
Yeah,
those
yeah,
things.
it's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. Getting some calls here
All
today,
right.
John. Hi, you're on the air.
Well, good morning, Pat. Good to see you back. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Thank you,
Lonnie
buddy.
Hutchins calling.
Thank you, Lonnie. Thank you for welcoming me back.
Hey, you guys want to talk about the top 10 worst cities, don't you? Well, let me tell you something. Take a look at last weekend. We had a bit of an opening at New Leaf United Methodist Church.
Yep.
The new building out there. It's a beautiful building. We had our difficulties it's the first thing we've ever done in the building. We had a little bit of difficulties with cooking. But everything was fun. Everything was great. Over 400 people.
Wonderful.
Great.
Take a look. Go down over the hill I went down over the hill to the lake. My sons and I went fishing. Do you know what? That place is jam-packed
That's right.
with trailers and trucks and cars and people walking and having a great time. That's really the worst city to live in that I can see. Take a look at the heart of our community. How many communities do you have are going to get together like ours do? We have the Leaf Project every year. We have many, many things going on in our community. Look at the library, what they do. We have a very positive, small community. It doesn't get any better than what you're talking about as far as our community goes. As far as our representations go, they're doing the best they can do. We can't do any better than what they're doing.
I agree with you 150%, Lonnie. You're absolutely right.
I mean, you can only pull so many rabbits out of your hat because your hat's only so big, bud.
That's right.
So you guys have a good day.
Thanks, Lonnie.
And don't worry about that cotton picking list because we could care less.
Hey, Lonnie, one quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
When does Leaf actually start, or has it?
The Leaf Project starts Saturday morning, 7 a.m.
On the 18th.
Yes, sir.
And it goes all through next week.
Yes, sir. We'll take Sunday off because that's the Lord's Day of Rest.
Amen.
And then we go right back at it Monday morning. Our visiting groups will be arriving Sunday afternoon, and we'll be putting full people, meals and everything. Away we go on Monday morning.
Very good, very good.
Materials have already been purchased. We received our grants from wherever we applied. There's several places that we applied. We're so excited that for once we are going into something with money that we can purchase emergency things that we need to do, and people are just excited to go.
Excellent, excellent. Sounds like you got everything in order here. Do you know how many projects you have on the list?
Well, at this stage of the game, we received close to 70 applications, and of the 70 applications, I think we're looking at around 25 to 30 projects that we intend on doing.
Great, that is excellent.
That's everything from installing a handrail down a set of basement steps for an older person to painting a house.
Wow. Yeah, great project, the Leaf Project is. We wish you well, Lonnie.
And we can always use, hey, John, if you get a chance, I got a T-shirt that'll fit you, bud. And I'll tell you, we always need volunteers. We need to step up, Conrad. Here we go.
That's
Let's
right.
step out and put your hand out and help someone else, too.
Excellent,
Thanks,
excellent.
Lonnie.
Thank you, Lonnie.
Hey, you guys take care and have a great day. The sun's shining.
That's right.
Get out there and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate
Bye-bye.
it. Bye-bye. Lonnie Hutchins, of course, head of the Leaf Project the last several years, and they do so much good for folks out there in need, want to give back to the community. One other question I wanted to ask you, John, and I'll turn it back over to you, is since we talked several months ago, and you gave your thoughts on it, about this legalization of marijuana. No, I'm a little vague on this. Is there a big story in the Plain Deal yesterday? Do they have the 700,000 names that they
They may
need?
not. They may not.
It's getting tight, isn't it?
Yes. And part of our district runs over in Geauga County.
Mm-hmm.
And must have been in March. And I have office hours in Chardon.
Mm-hmm.
And I stop by occasionally, as often as I can, to chat with the mayor.
Sure.
And just a few days before, they were out collecting signatures. Just random people in the street. And his wife was there, and she was kind of joking that good luck getting valid signatures, or people, not valid signatures, but signatures of people that will support that
Right, right.
in Chardon. So by the process that they use, that I think that they use, by just putting people out there and trying to get signatures, you have to be, there's a process that has to be followed. And I don't think that was done, especially in the larger counties.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that editorial suggested. But these people are very well funded, and there's some concern about that. Now, there's no movement in the legislature to legalize marijuana, I can tell you that. Nobody promoting that. Now, the medicinal use of marijuana, especially for these young people who have seizures,
Mm-hmm.
there's been some talk and some serious consideration of that it would be legalized as we do some of the other drugs for painkillers and such. But there's no stomach for it. Now, related to that, there's been movement with respect to the Ohio Constitution and the monopoly that would be granted to these 10 different areas that would grow marijuana. And the concern is that we would, by statute, be granting a monopoly to certain individuals, and that is not congruent with the intent of the Constitution. Put marijuana on the shelf. You could do that with various industries and a voter referendum or a voter initiative that would carve out special incentives for different groups, which isn't right. And so we passed a Joint Resolution 4 that would, if it gets to the ballot, would take the question to the voters. Do we want to allow, in this case and other cases, groups to have special monopolistic rights in the state of Ohio?
Okay.
And we'll see how that one plays out yet this fall. But it made it through the Ohio House, and I think it's a valid concern, because, and I look back, and this is the history and me coming out again, I look back to 100 years ago or so, a little bit before, during the height of the Industrial Revolution, when there were huge pockets of money and influence and power, and how then with the rise of the labor movement we were able to kind of disperse that so that all the tide raised all the boats. I'm concerned again about that accumulation of wealth and power in the hands of a few, because this country is better when it is shared.
My son was over the other night, Saturday night, and he asked me, he goes, "Dad, what's your thoughts of this?" And I said, one thing that comes to mind is marijuana, whether you agree with it or not, it impairs your vision while driving. It's just another problem we have on our roadways that, I mean, it's probably there illegally, but still, if you give it carte blanche and say, let's legalize it, and people start using it, maybe never did use it or whatever, I said, it just seems like you're creating more of a problem. However, that being said, it's been used for ages, and other states have allowed it. I says, John Patterson's coming in on Monday. I'm going to ask him and I already know his thoughts because he and I talked about this months ago. And he said that as far as he was concerned, the lawmakers were not going to throw this on the ballots.
It would have to be the public's initiative.
Right.
And the other thing to consider is how the world is shaping up in Colorado, for example.
Correct.
I mean, we have problems right now filling our workforce with because there's drug testing. How do you match drug testing and the legalization of marijuana?
Right.
And I want our truck drivers, I want our people who are in those high demand, high intensity positions to have a clear mind. And I know you could make the argument, well, alcohol too. Well, that's a different argument for a different time.
Yeah, it is. It is. Let's take this, John.
Yep.
Hi, you're on the air.
Yeah, this marijuana thing, if they have medical marijuana, why can't they have a prescription for it like any other medication?
That's what we would.
That's all, you know, they screw so many things up anymore by being illogical about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, as a rental person, back in the late 70s when marijuana started, I'll tell you, the rental business became very, very, what's the word, confusing to say the least. There's been more property destruction in this town alone from drug use than anything else. It's really amounting to vandalism. And there's all these empty houses because the interiors, when you go in there, when I see police reports, I know the condition of those houses. And they are destroyed. They really are. To the point where it's costing the city and it's costing the taxpayers to have all these places torn down. Then you have these small lots that you can't do anything with, and that's all tied up in so many loops that a person who wants to buy those lots can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the drug thing is really, really big, and I don't know, they seem to shut their eyes to it. They don't, marijuana, oh, what's that do? Well, it's the prelude for something worse. It really is. As so many things, they've said when the television got kind of bad, they said, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Well, we didn't, but a lot of people did, and then it went to worse violence and worse this and that. Well, I had a child psychologist teacher years ago, back in the dinosaur ages, who said, nip it in the bud for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it even get started. If it starts, stop it right then and there. And we haven't done that in this country, and it's getting worse and worse. And that's why crime is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
They get themselves in a condition they can't hold a job, so where do you get money?
Right.
You steal it somewhere, or you fraud somebody, or that. And it's getting to the point where it's getting kind of scary to live even here.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
I know you can't do much about it, John, but that's my thing. If it's medical, have a prescription.
And that's a path that we would pursue. I've seen and talked to some of the lawmakers who are proposing that by prescription only.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye. I want to mention this. Just got this from our friend Jerry Orlando Brothers.
Oh my goodness, 50 years in business.
Yeah, that's his cousin. There
Okay,
in North
okay.
Kingsville. This
Okay.
one's here in Connie.
Yep.
And he had me read a bunch of items that were on sale. They're all sold out. They're all
Oh my
sold out.
goodness.
So anything that I read this morning is gone. Thanks, Jerry, for telling me that. He also said he has to see me after the show, so I'll have to stop in and visit with my good buddy Jerry.
Hey, speaking of good things in Konya,
Yeah.
the parade was wonderful for the 4th of July.
Yes.
I like that format at night. I think more people could take benefit, and it certainly was easier on some of those who walked. I remember doing that. It seemed like the Baton Death March a few years ago. It was hot, it was humid, middle of the day.
Oh, I know.
But that was a nice format. And as I walked down the street, I was, as I knocked on doors in Conneaut last year, I was especially pleased with the refurbishing of a number of the houses that is taking place on Broad Street there, on Lake Road. There are some good things happening, and we have to stop and see that and appreciate it. We didn't get in this dilemma overnight. We're not going to get out overnight.
Right. And by the way, did you notice who the Grand Marshal of the parade was? Kathy Page.
I know. Still, Kathy Pape, we're waiting for that big wedding day to take place.
I know. I don't know when that's going to happen. But,
we need to put some more pressure on that
I think
guy.
we might have to do that. We'll have her back when you're back the next time. We'll get on her
Some
case.
quiet guy, Marty Landon, was involved in that.
Oh,
festival,
yes.
too.
Yes, he was. Hi, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Hi.
On this marijuana thing, do you think that legalizing marijuana would actually get people to start or stop? I mean, the only thing it would do is instead of smoking the marijuana in your basement, you could do it on your front porch. I mean, I don't think if you legalize it, somebody isn't sitting home, I don't smoke marijuana because it's illegal.
Right.
The best thing you could probably do, as far as, like they have an open container law for liquor, you can't drink liquor in a vehicle or whatever.
True.
The only law you would have would be no smoking in the car.
Well, there's another law that you would have to enforce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they enforce the other one too, but I'm just saying, I don't think it's gonna make anybody quit or anybody really start. If you're gonna do what you're gonna do, I don't think it's gonna change the amount of marijuana that's on the market now.
And let me share with you the some of the other arguments I've heard, that if we legalized it and regulated marijuana like we do alcohol, here it comes, Pat, the state could, and Dennis is, I hope he's sitting on the edge of his chair now, see more tax revenue. And I guess the coffer's out, and I'm going to a national conference here in a couple weeks, and I want to pick the brains of the Colorado legislators here. I mean, they are seeing a bonanza in money coming in terms of taxes. However, that being said, I wonder what sort of money is going to be spent on social services to compensate for that, because I'm sure there's going to be other needs. And another thing that is troublesome is the number of individuals who are incarcerated with marijuana, and that has been an argument that we have people who would otherwise be out producing in society, in prison, at public expense, learning to be more hardened criminals, where if we actually decriminalize certain amounts of it, they'd be back into mainstream. And
You're right. I would like to see the backdrop of what has happened since that passed in Colorado. There's another state, I think. Washington. I'd like to know what has happened. You know, is it gotten more crime? Has been more crime, or did some of it go away? I'd like to know that background. You never hear that here. You know, so I'd like to.
I will bring that back to you.
I like to say too, you know, you're going to tax regular cigarettes up 35 cents or $1 or whatever, and that probably will get some people to quit. Now, if you make it too expensive to smoke marijuana, other than the prescriptions, you know, tax it, that might work, but I doubt it. They're going to get it anyway, the same way they get the rest of the illegal drugs.
Right.
So they actually, if the person that needs it is going to suffer because of the ones that naturally abuse it.
Right.
I agree.
All righty.
Thank you. It sort of reminds me of the lottery. I mean, when we think of the lottery, that's got a positive image, doesn't it? That we're raising money for schools, and the state is all wonderful with the lottery. But in the old days, we used to call that the numbers game.
Yeah.
And who ran that? The mob. So bit by bit, when we tried to prohibit alcohol, organized crime filled the void.
Yeah.
And so there's that argument too, that if we did decriminalize it, we would be taking another element away from organized crime. You cannot legislate morals. And I'm not saying, or suggesting that the marijuana issue is one of those, but what I'd like to see is people living productive lives to the best of their abilities, given their God-given gifts and talents. And I think sometimes those distractions get in the way of fulfilling our potential. I mean, our time here on this planet is so short. As you well know, I think you and I can both say that we're probably over that central part of our life.
Yeah.
I don't envision living to be 118.
I don't either.
So, I think I know we're about the same age.
Yeah.
Work with me on this.
Yeah.
So the time is so short, why not make the most of it and not be distracted by these detours with marijuana and lead totally fulfilling life in service to others.
Just talking to somebody the other day, and actually we're about the same age. She's a little bit younger. And I go, what happened to the time? It didn't seem that long ago when we graduated from high school. And he goes, everybody says that when they hit our age group. It's like it goes by so fast. So you are right. Relatively short time.
We have to make the most of that precious
Absolutely.
time. Every day counts, every
Yep.
second, which is why I look forward to coming to the Pat Williams Show.
Let's take this call. Hi, you're on the air.
Well, Pat, I'm calling back again, but this is about the marijuana thing. Why don't you use some of the tax revenue that you would get from marijuana as an educational fund, too, to educate people on, like, what you're talking about? You're talking about bad things that marijuana can do for you in life and lead you down these different roads. I mean, you could also look back at when alcohol was legalized and see the arguments that were against
Right.
that and for it. You know, you understand? Because
Yep.
they're basically the same thing. The only difference between marijuana, when you go to a drug test, they can take it out of your hair follicles. And I know a lot of companies now are using that hair test to do drug tests when they hire people. So, I mean, it goes way back. So I'm thinking, to me, you know, you go into work, you know, I don't see any business doing away with their drug tests.
No.
So, with that being said, if they want to legalize marijuana, you're not, and like the gentleman that called earlier, you're not going to stop people that want to smoke it or start people that don't want to smoke it. You know, they're either going to do it or they're not going to do it. And the revenue that you would collect it in taxes, instead of just spending it frivolously on other things, you know, you could use it as an educational fund to educate people on the use of drugs. That, you know, and I don't know, you know, I know this has been said before about education, but it's just like anything else. When my son was growing up and we had guns in the house, I educated him what they were and what they were not to be used for and what they're used for. And to this day, he knows all about that. And I smoke, Pat. And I told him about smoking. Don't ever start, then you don't have to quit. And, you know, I educated him on that and told him the bad things about cigarettes. I remember telling Pat one time I quit smoking when cigarettes were 56 cents a pack. What are they now? I thought that was crazy, the taxes that they were charging on them then, and I said, I'm not paying that, so I quit. So the education to my son was, if you don't start, then you don't have to stop. With marijuana, I mean, education is the best way to control drugs or anything. I mean, everybody has their own freedom of will, and they're either going to do it or they're not going to do. So I think you need to educate people on the uses of that and, you know, what it does to you and what it's going to do for you in life and what it's not going to do for you in life.
Right.
So maybe that's something you could think about in that essence there, if it would become legalized and the taxes that would be collected from it, where they could go.
Right.
So I just threw that out there for you, John.
Thanks.
I don't know if it's any good or not.
No, and that was logic with the increase 35 cent in the cigarette tax. That a number of that, a lot of those dollars would go for cessation education.
That goes for education?
Yeah, for cessation, to wean ourselves away from tobacco.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
like I said, I know a lot of people that they smoke, they try to quit, and then they go right back to
hard.
smoking again because of the addiction of the cigarette.
Right.
I've been down that road, and I know how it is. And the only way you can stop somebody from smoking is to not let them start. And so I guess what I'm trying to say, same thing with marijuana. I mean, you know, later in life when you don't have to work and you're sitting at home, and if you want to smoke joints or whatever, you know, go for it. But, you know, that's because you don't have to work. But if you're going to sit there and you have to go to work, then people should be made aware that if you start this habit, and you go to try to apply for a job, you know, that's going to be held against you. And if you ever get held with a drug test, a positive drug test, that's also going to follow you down the road. So
Right.
maybe that education would help. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's part of
We'll
it.
hang up here because Pat wants to probably get somebody else on there. So
Okay.
I'll let you go.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I know a gal that smoked, and she went to apply for a job, and she goes, and this is regular cigarettes. She goes, I had to quit smoking for like 3 weeks before I went for, they test you, I guess, for smoking regular cigarettes now. They don't want smokers.
Well, they cost more. And
The health-
you look at the
insurance.
health costs. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And you know, Tom brought up a point. Education is key. And that is the gateway that opens up a lot of different worlds. But in addition to that, we have to somehow help people find meaningful employment. And I was thinking about this today. What time do you come to work in the morning?
About 6:30.
6:30. Do you call this you're going to the station, or are you coming to work when you tell your wife where you're headed?
Now, I've been doing it so long that I probably call it work, but it's something that I enjoy doing.
Exactly. And in your work, you are really serving others.
In a way, yeah.
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 And my point is that we are all in our inner core looking for purpose. What is the meaning of life?
Mhm.
Why am I here now at this time, at this place? And I think part of that ties in with our innate need to serve others, to find definition for self, if that makes sense. Now, I know I'm going to go a little bit philosophical on you here this morning, but looking for purpose, looking for meaning, and you can't find meaning in cars, you can't find meaning in houses, you can't find meaning in wealth. It's that service to others that we actively participate in. That's why that LEAF project is so important.
Right.
Who gets more out of it, the person who gets the job done or the person doing that service?
Right.
So, on the long term, I never, when I was teaching, my wife was teaching, she just retired, we never called that going to work. We were going to school because it was that meaningful to us. Now, if you have education, you have meaningful employment, and you're giving back to society, and here's where we come back to Tom's comment then. I believe that those sorts of activities that are counterproductive to leading a full life kind of wither away as we become more involved in our service, in our work to others. So it's finding that meaningful employment, which takes me back to education. We need to fund, and I've been harping on my colleagues for this, that full cornucopia that we used to have in our schools, the shop classes, what we used to call home ec classes, the business classes, so kids can kind of figure out what their gifts are so that when they are actively engaged in employment, it's not work.
I agree.
And they find meaning in that. And life takes on who wants to go to a job that you
don't like.
you don't like? Nobody wants that.
No.
We shouldn't have to do that.
No.
But we have to discover where our gifts are and then figure out how to plug our gifts.
Well, you know,
into that.
both of us, when we were going to college, probably had to take a job to help raise money
Yeah.
that you didn't like. And I remember saying to myself, working in a factory, several of them actually, was, I don't want to do this. This isn't what I want to be in journalism, and that's what I ended up doing. But there's been talk around our household about retirement, and Michelle, who was younger than I, said, what are you going to do? You've been doing this for 47 years, since you got out of high school, basically. What are you going to do? She goes, you enjoy giving the weather and telling us about snowstorms and all that stuff coming in. You're giving that all up. She goes, I don't know whether you want to do that right yet. You're too young to do that. And I said, well, that makes me feel a little better, I guess. But
she's right, Pat. You still have the feeling for this.
yeah, I still have it in my heart.
You'll know when it's time.
Yeah.
And admittedly, if I hadn't wanted to fight for our people in this 99th district, I probably would still be teaching.
Really?
Because I loved it so.
Yeah.
In fact, I was at the Circle K buying milk this morning. 6:30 in the morning, ran across two of my former students. One's in law enforcement, got a big hug from her, and she's switching jobs, but she's excited about where she's going. Another's a township trustee.
Oh, yeah.
And that felt so good to know that they're leading productive lives.
Sure.
They're happy. You could see their eyes were ablaze with excitement. And
There's got to be gratification.
oh my
there.
gosh, to think of, right down across the street is one of my former students. Scott Barber is a baseball coach at Jefferson, phys ed teacher. And down the street is one of my former students practicing law now. And that's just in a little neighborhood, let alone the greater village of Jefferson and the county. In fact, when I first took office, the lobbyists all come in to see you. They line up at the door, and within the first week I had 3 of them who were two of them were former students, And another one I knew through Model UN at
Yeah.
Kent State Ashtabula.
That's
So
amazing.
it's good to see them leading out productive lives and having from my perspective, a small, minuscule part in that.
Well, you had a big part of it, and we've been chatting here, and I'm sure he's got other stuff to talk about before you let him go. What do you got there, Jim?
Next Monday, that would be the 20th, at 11 o'clock, Ashtabula County Courthouse, the county commissioners are hosting a panel of state legislators to hear comments and concerns about injection wells.
Oh,
In fact, the ranking member of the Natural Resources Committee is going to be there. And we are, and again, as we were lamenting, sometimes things take forever
yeah.
in Columbus. We've been working on legislation to provide additional protections for all of us with respect to injection wells, knowing full well at the same time that we are all dependent on oil and natural gas.
Sure.
So there's a balance we have to strike. But that meeting will take place in Jefferson. We would appreciate, and the county commissioners, I'm sure that it's on their website with Lisa Hawkins. We would like to have written testimony so that we could take that back to our colleagues in Columbus.
What time is this, John?
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock
11 o'clock.
next Monday.
Next Monday at the meeting room of the commissioners.
And there's been so much talk about that in this area. I'm sure people
Yeah.
out there take advantage of it and go and.
There'll be at
check it
least
out.
3 of us, three reps, 3 state reps there. And the idea is to get input so that we understand the problems more comprehensively. And as we craft this legislation, now again, I've been working on this since
I know you have.
early in my term. And it's not only finding a sensible solution, it's also being able to work with members to get something passed too. And that's just in the House, and you have to go through the Senate and the governor. So it's a complex problem. But we want input. We want input.
So the public can
Mm-hmm.
attend
It's a public meeting.
public meetings.
That's right. And they can listen, or if they want to submit testimony, there's a process for that. You just have to type it up, and
Okay, written
testimony.
Okay.
We need.
You cannot stand up and talk.
No, because that way we will have the ability to share that. It's documented then, to share that with our colleagues. So if there's follow-up questions, then we can proceed. That's how we run our hearings.
Good, I'm
in
glad you brought
Columbus.
that up.
Yeah, I wanted to share that.
Yeah.
And that's been a relatively recent development. In fact, we solidified this about a week and a half or so ago.
Okay.
I had a request from Commissioner Claypool to see what we could do to arrange this, and it came from the township trustees originally. They have obviously some concerns. They're on the front line of it, and it's something that Representative O'Brien and I have been working on. So I wanted to let the folks know about that. Some other things in the wind here too. I'm going to be introducing a bill soon for a tax credit for those who receive an associate's degree or bachelor's or advanced degree in STEM related careers, science, technology, engineering, math. And the idea is that if they were to acquire such a degree, come back to the state of Ohio, live here at least 5 years, that they'll have reduced income tax. And what I'm trying to do is bring our young people back
Yeah.
and help us rebuild our economy from the inside out, because the fastest fields right now, are in things to do with health related.
Okay.
And we have UH and we have the Cleveland Clinic,
Right.
aeronautical science, and we have the John Glenn, the NASA Research Center there in Cleveland. Advanced manufacturing. There are a lot of robotics and such, again with engineering. And then anything to do with information technology. And a lot of those jobs, especially in engineering or information technology, are portable. By bringing these people back, incentivizing them to live here in Ohio with their skills, it just seems like a winning proposition.
Yeah.
So I'm working with a number of reps who are about ready to go on that.
Excellent. Okay.
So I'm looking to rebuild us from the inside out. There's some still working on Lyme disease. And please be careful of that, folks. It's
Especially
that
now.
time of year. But microbeads in Lake Erie, have we ever talked about this? Microbeads?
I don't know.
Okay. In facial products, there's these little tiny plastic beads that are used to exfoliate the face and the skin on the face. And they've been in cleansers or facial products for a number of years. Well, what we have found, and I went to Great Lakes, I'm a part of the Great Lakes Caucus, and this year we'll be meeting in Buffalo. Last year it was Quebec City. These microbeads do not necessarily disintegrate because they're plastic. And the PCBs attach to them, all the nasty chemicals in the lake, and they are ingested by wildlife and work their way up the food chain, so that ultimately it can impact the perch we eat, the walleye we eat, that sort of thing. But there's been a correlation between the microbeads and the PCBs and the chemical attraction there. So the idea is, and other states begun to do this too, to ban those plastic microbeads in those products. Again, interested in water quality and such for the lake.
Okay.
And one final note, speaking of the lake, with this rain that we have had,
Yeah.
there's been, not necessarily in our area, but I'm concerned about algal blooms in the western end, and there was a lake, and there was a report issued recently that we could be in for some real issues, a rough ride ahead because of the torrential rains. And this spring, and it wasn't big news up here, but in central Ohio, in the Scioto Basin, heavy rains, nitrates washed into the Scioto, and it was so bad that there was a water advisory in Columbus
No kidding.
for pregnant women and others who may be susceptible. One of their water processing plants actually takes water from the Scioto, and they couldn't filter it out. There was so much of it in there. And the point of the matter is, as we have a problem with phosphorus in Lake Erie, we have a nitrate problem in the Gulf of Mexico and the Mississippi watershed, and we are a part of that,
Right.
southern Ashtabula County. And again, it's coming back to agriculture and failed municipal sewer plants and such. There are dead zones, huge dead zones in the Gulf of Mexico that are not good for the beaches down there, the wildlife down there. So this is something, and the documentation is there. We have, for whatever reason, and we can speculate as to the causes, glaciers are melting, ice caps are melting, there is more water that is not entrapped than there used to be. And it seems to be recirculating in the form of some of these more intense downpours. And we've got the numbers dating back a couple of decades now in comparison with respect to Ohio and rainfall. It's another problem that we're going to have to address, because while we must increase yields, and that's where fertilizers come in and good agricultural practice, because the world population is going to reach 9 billion by 2050, we also have to be good stewards of the environment. Again, there's a balancing act there.
Yeah.
So that's a concern of mine, and I look what's happening in California with the conditions they have out there. And Indiana yesterday had massive flooding. In fact, I've heard from some of our folks in central Ohio, corn standing underwater. We may have some real damage this year. Not necessarily, I mean, it's tough here with hay being difficult to bale right now.
Right.
And a second cutting and such. But those things concern me too, because that's jobs and money and quality of life.
John, before I let you go, how about the bridge out here at Amboy? It seems to be on target.
It's on target. I talked to ODOT, the new district supervisor, just the other day, Friday in fact. Things are going along fine with that. Yeah, he hasn't heard any complaints. I haven't heard any complaints. I mean, now, inconvenience. We all know it's an inconvenience. But work's progressing nicely, and things are looking good there. And he also told me he could not officially divulge, but there, and he thought it was Conneaut and Ashtabula are about ready to receive, and even the city managers don't have confirmation of this. But he thought, and he was going to check, that there was some state grant money coming in for some of their projects I can't get more specific than that because he didn't get specific for me. But anytime we have state money coming back to the area, I get excited about it.
Has the city contacted you about this Center Street bridge?
Not directly, but I'm aware it's a problem. I know Jim has a plate full right now.
Yes, he does.
Of projects, and that's a concern as
I
well.
think they're trying to get a grant there.
And that I mentioned that to Al with ODOT, and he said there are a number of grants, and he gave me the pamphlet for small cities for things like that, and I'm going to be sharing that information with my local officials here today, in fact, because I have that from ODOT.
Good. I think things are progressing rather well, and it sounds like you've got a full plate yourself.
We keep at it. We keep at it.
Yeah. Will you run again?
It's next year already. Can you believe that?
I'm just thinking about this on the way in this morning. I go, you know, it just 2 years just doesn't seem enough because it just seems like it's over. Like just as you turn around, look, it's just a shadow. But I know you're still young enough where you got the health and everything to do it, so why not?
Well, believe it or not, because of term limits, when I complete this term, I'm halfway done.
Is that what it is now?
8 years.
Is it 8 years?
8 years. And 8 years is not, and this is where I think in retrospect, we didn't see all the side effects of term limits. Now, for a person my age, it's a different story, but we have young people in their 40s, 30s,
Yeah.
that 8 years is a whole different, they can't really build a career around this unless they bounce back and forth between the House
Right.
and the Senate. And that never was my intent. And at my age, there are other things that, life's too short, as we said.
Mhm.
But to come back to your question, I have a lot of work that I still want to see finished.
Right.
So I can tell you as of today, yes, I will
Good.
be running again. My health is, you know, at our age,
You never know.
You never know. I'm just being upfront,
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
honest, but it's my intention,
Mhm.
my full intention to keep pushing ahead for the 99th district.
Well, you're doing a great job. You
We'll
really
keep
have.
at that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for coming in. We'll have to set at the break. We'll take this last
Yep.
off. That's okay. And then we'll set a new time for next month. Hi, you're on the air.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I'm finally getting you streaming for the first time since you've been off WWOW.
Yes. Yes. We're back
did.
streaming.
I got you. The only reason I got the website for Great Wave Communications, and I'm able to get you on the tablet, but I can't get you on my computer, and I can't get you on my cell phone.
Okay. I don't know anything about that sort of stuff. You'd have to talk to a technician on that, but I'll try to find out and I'll relay it out, okay?
Yes.
Because I don't know anything about the technology. I'm lucky I can turn the computer on, but we'll check on that, okay?
Yeah, I clicked on the blue words that you had on your website, and I'm able to get you on my Samsung Galaxy tablet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Even though it's an Apple, even though it's for Apple.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
You know what that means? People can take you to the beach with them now.
Yes, they can.
On vacation, there's no vacation.
John, thank you so much for
Thanks.
coming in. Always great to see you and get the updates on our state capital and all the things in Ashtabula County. And we will see you next month, right?
You got it.
Okay.
Mhm.